Hey everyone, I'm trying something a little bit different today. I decided to use my mobile because you may have noticed the quality of the transmission has not been great on my laptop. So bear with me as I try this a new way of broadcasting, and hopefully it's a better experience for you guys as you view either live or in with the replay. Okay, so let's talk about actually what I want to do today. I've spent a fair bit of time on this one today because for me it's going to be a big week. So I might just give you a little bit of background, I guess, on my 2025 and then what 2026 looks like for me. So almost exactly to the day 12 months ago, I was officially made redundant. So from a job that I'd been in for about 9 years, and it was a full-time corporate role that I knew was coming to an end. And it took about 12 months to come to an end. And in that time, I had set up my business, which a lot of you are aware of, and my coaching and learning human design. And what happened in 2025 was that I still had a lot of stuff to work through. I had many shadows around money. I had shadows around my own self-worth. I guess the universe had some more lessons for me to learn. So off I went and got another corporate role. And it really was not good for my energy. I had to commute into the city 5 days a week. I was around people who drained my energy and didn't fill my cup. There were a couple of people there that were great to work with, but it was really, interestingly, given what we're going to talk about today, it was the organisation was very focused on money, and the word greed does come up in today's transit. So I'm going to say the word greed. I'm sure they wouldn't describe it as greed because they do share it with others, but not for the greater good of the community and the world at large. So it didn't align with me, and so what happened was I did that for about 6 or 7 months. And at the same time knew that I want, like I've talked about this in other videos, I want a life of ease. And that was the complete opposite of ease. So I knew that I wanted to invest more of my time and energy into my business and coaching and human design and sharing this beautiful modality with the world. Or my little sliver of the world that I connect with, and I wanted something part-time. So tomorrow I start a new job in a Catholic school as a marketing manager part-time. So it is equivalent of 3 days a week, which gives me a lot more time. It gives me the comfort of knowing that there is money coming in. It is a role that is very much less commercial and more community focused, which really sits better with my values, and it's also around a community of people who are interested in the greater good, and it allows me to find my tribe again in a workplace. So while I love working my business, it is a very solitary way to work. And so now I've got the perfect balance of community and my own passion that I want to follow. So I guess that kind of brings me to where I was at this morning when I woke up and I thought, oh, am I going to go live today? What do I want to talk about? And I was like, yeah, actually, I want to dig a bit deep into what the energies might be for my first week in my new job, which starts tomorrow. So many of you are going to be returning to work after a break. And that brings with it all sorts of things to deal with. And I thought giving you all a bit of a flavour of the energies that are out there at the moment, it'll help you navigate the week and perhaps get the most out of this week. So without further ado, let's get on with what I've prepared for you today. So we're returning to work. So let's return to work with intention and not resistance. So today we're going to orient you to the week ahead, not just energetically, but also from a practical sense. So let's look at what's going on. So here we go. Where am I up to? Okay, so for Monday, we're going to be in the last day of the energy we've been talking about for most of the last week. So being the last day of that energy, it is the role model flavour of the line 6 in gate 38 and 39. So Monday is about demonstrating something. So the low energy of this frequency can show up as misunderstanding and stubbornness. So maybe digging your heels in or holding your ground simply because you've always stood there in that spot. So the question for Monday is simple and maybe a little confronting. Where might I be clinging to being right rather than being wise? This is an invitation to role model understanding, especially in situations where tension already exists. So then we move, so the Earth is in 39, which we've been talking about, but the 39-6, which is where we see provocation mature, where we're no longer poking for reaction, but we're provoking for resolution. So if you notice problems around you in conversations, teams, or systems, ask yourself, how could I gently provoke a new perspective that actually helps in this situation? So Monday's all about leadership through emotional intelligence, not force. And then we move into a 6-day arc of a new background frequency. So from Tuesday through to Saturday, the Sun and the Earth move into the gates 54 and 53, which are ambition and new beginnings. So it's a powerful pairing. The gate 54 is the gate of ambition, but let's look at it as ambition growing up. It's not ambition for status or accumulation, but it's ambition in service of something larger. So Richard Rudd, who wrote The Gene Keys, uses the metaphor of a tree, and it really sits perfectly with this gate or gene key. So think about a tree. The roots support the trunk, and the trunk is the trunk supports the branches, and then the branches support the leaves and the fruit. And then the fruit actually then feeds the roots. So it's all about this prosperity through circulation. So this week, ask, how can I be a steward of inspiration, not just for myself, but also for others? And then thinking about aspiration in terms of how it lifts the collective, not greed that will drain the collective. So then we move into the gate 53, which is the gate of beginnings. So anything new, when you think about it, anything that we embark on that's new carries fear beneath the surface. Even if we don't acknowledge it, it's probably still there. So I would suggest you take the time, if you're moving into something new, to think about what the fears are under the surface. Now, it's not a flaw to have fears. It's actually our unconscious mind trying to protect us. So it's just biology and evolution. So whenever we begin something new, whether it be a new year, a new role, a new rhythm, or a new chapter in our lives, there's always going to be a subtle undercurrent of this fear. And it's not necessarily a loud panic. You may not even realize that it's underneath the surface. And it's not really about resistance, but it's a quiet, unspoken tension that just says, what if this doesn't work, or what if I fail? So this is where gate 53 becomes incredibly precise. So the teaching here is to begin as you mean to go on. And what that really means is this: if fear is sitting at the foundation of a beginning and it's unnamed, unacknowledged, or pushed aside, it doesn't actually disappear. It quietly becomes the thing that undermines the journey later on. So the work of this gate is not to eliminate fear, it's actually to bring it closer, to notice it, to name it, and hold it gently without judgment or urgency. Because fear won't dissolve through force, it dissolves through awareness and compassion. So when you allow yourself to say, yes, there is fear here and I can still begin, something inside shifts. The fear loosens its grip. It no longer needs to run the show from behind the scenes. So gate 53 is deeply spiritual because it mirrors nature itself. Growth requires stepping beyond what is known. Expansion always carries uncertainty, and that uncertainty is not a sign you're doing something wrong, it's a sign you're doing something real. This gate asks you to trust what's unfolding, to allow growth without guarantees, to understand that even perceived failure is part of expansion when its lessons are integrated. So as you move into this first full week of January, I ask you to ask yourself, what am I beginning, and what fear might I need to meet this with kindness rather than avoidance? So let's say that again. So what am I beginning, and what fear might I need to meet with kindness rather than avoidance? Our natural response is to push fear away, push it down, pretend it's not there, the power of positive thinking and all that. Well, that's wrong. You can't, pushing it down, it's always going to be there and it's just going to fester. So you actually need to let it out, acknowledge it, recognize it. Because when fear is acknowledged at the beginning, it doesn't get to sabotage the ending. And that's how you truly begin as you mean to go on. So following on from our chat from yesterday, where we introduced Mercury into the mix of frequencies, if you haven't listened to that broadcast, we talked about Mercury being the planet for communication and thought. So following on from that, from Monday through to Thursday this week, Mercury moves through gate 58, and it's infusing our thoughts and communication with vitality and enthusiasm. So this week, your words matter more than you realise. As many people return to work, you're going to encounter people with fatigue, negativity, resistance to the old grind or the old ways of doing things. And this is where gate 58 can become medicine. When your communication is rooted in service, enthusiasm becomes contagious. So you don't need to fake the positivity. Find where your vitality and your enthusiasm comes from, and if you approach things from a place of service, then that positivity will just emanate from you. So you simply need to remember why you're there and let that be heard by others. So it really is, the joy that you can show can have impact on others. And then we move into a couple of other planets that we haven't talked about before. Let's bring Venus and Mars into the mix. And they are both moving into gate 54. So we've already discussed gate 54 today, and it's the gate of ambition. So it's going to be quite a strong underlying current for this week. So midweek, Venus moves into gate 54. And Venus governs our values, morals, and what we're drawn towards. So the work here is not to fix or smooth something over, it's to notice it in others and in yourself. In this gate, Venus asks us a very practical question. What am I actually aspiring towards, and at what cost? So this week may put you in situations where you're asked to align with values you don't fully agree with, decide how much you're willing to give for advancement, and to reconsider what success really means for you now. So the higher expression of this gate isn't about rejecting ambition, it's about making sure your ambition is clean, that what you're working towards benefits more than just you, whether that's your team, your family, your clients, or the wider system you're part of. So as Venus moves through gate 54, pay attention to where you feel pulled to compromise on your own values, where aspiration feels energizing versus draining, and where prosperity could be shared rather than hoarded. It's not about being idealistic, it's about being honest. And honesty will quietly shape the choices you make this week. And at the same time, with Mars also in gate 54, this can actually trigger impulsive reactions, especially when confronted with selfish behaviour. So the key here is restraint. Slow down and respond consciously. Ask yourself, how could this energy be transmuted into something that benefits the greater good? And then we get to Jupiter, another new one for this week that we haven't spoken about before. And it is in gate 53. So there's lots of common gates in the background frequencies. So Jupiter brings us the long arc of new beginnings. So we zoom out a little bit, and for the next couple of months, Jupiter remains in gate 53. So we do have that longer arc of beginnings sort of creeping into the beginning of the year. And Jupiter amplifies whatever it touches, and here it magnifies the new beginnings. So this means initiations that matter, foundations that matter, and the energy you start things with that will echo forward. So take this week seriously, but not heavily, and begin gently, begin consciously, and begin fully aligned. So, in closing, I'm hoping that I've been able to spark something for you for the week ahead. This week isn't asking you to sprint, it's asking you to re-enter with awareness, maturity, and intention. Let this be the week you return to work, not as who you were last year, but as who you're becoming. And I'll be back soon with the next Daily Spark and maybe a little update on how my first week in the new job goes. So tomorrow is the first day. Very excited, looking forward to it. And I hope you guys are looking forward to whatever this week holds for you. And I hope this broadcast was a little bit cleaner and not as glitchy as my good old laptop has been. Thank you and see you soon.